in weeks past, the thing about Lent is that it's often considered a dry season, but we also get the increasingly longer and longer lessons on the week. And today is normally none different, but today, which one, did we go with the Romans or you went with the Gospel?
I went with John.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And it's long.
It's very long. We did do something interesting in the first service. We broke it up, so it wasn't quite as long. So maybe I'm going to help have you guys do that. Would somebody want to read Jesus' part for me?
We don't have one.
I don't have it up that way.
That's okay, I know. But where it says Jesus said,
Oh,
the
yes.
person would read the quotes for Jesus. Anyone? Anyone?
Where's it at? Is it in here?
It's up here. Oh.
It would be like verse 4, but when Jesus heard it, he said,
Yeah, and then I'll do the narrator part and do all the parts up to, and he said, or Jesus said, so you'll know who. The disciples, everyone read.
Oh, I see.
Marlene, would you read Mary? She comes up
Okay,
and...
I'm gonna sit by Ken. See if I can see
And
it.
Kara, would you read Martha?
Martha.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over here too.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. And John, would you read Thomas?
okay.
All right, now, a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Martha was the one who had anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus. Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, who's reading Jesus?
I don't know if we said one, I'll do it.
Okay.
This illness does not lead to death, rather it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it.
Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after hearing that Lazarus was ill, he stayed for 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to his disciples,
Let us go to Judea again.
the disciples said to him,
Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and are you going there again?
Jesus answered,
Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble, because they see the light of this world. But those who walk at night stumble, because the light is not in them.
After saying this, he told them,
Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him.
all the disciples said to him,
Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will be all right.
Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, but they thought that he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly,
Lazarus is dead. For your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him.
Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples,
Let us also go, that he may die with him.
When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus,
Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him.
Jesus said to her,
Your brother will rise again.
Martha said to him,
I know that he will rise again on the resurrection, in the resurrection on the last day.
and Jesus said to her,
I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?
She said to him,
Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world.
When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately.
The teacher is here and is calling for you.
And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up and quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought she was going to the tomb to weep. When Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him,
Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.
When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said,
Where have you laid him?
They said to him, Lord, come and see. Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, See how he loved him. But some of them said,
Could
Could
not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?
Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said,
Take away the stone.
Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him,
Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead 4 days.
Jesus said to her, Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? Sorry, Jesus. So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said,
Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always would hear me. But I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me.
When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice,
Lazarus, come out.
The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them,
Unbind him and let him go.
Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. Here ends the gospel. And thank you for your participation. So we have had a series of longer readings, as I mentioned, this one being one of them. The Romans text was fairly short, and I was going to have us read that today because I was going to have us do an activity today. So we'll see where this goes. The other lesson then was from Ezekiel, and the Ezekiel lesson is where the Lord comes to the prophet Ezekiel. And he takes them to the valley of dry bones. And he says that this is the whole house of Israel, and that I will make these dry bones live. And so he has the prophet go and breathe on the bones, and the bones come to life, and all of a sudden skin and sinew is put on the bones, and they begin to live again. And so I want you to keep that in mind as we go through today's lesson as well, in the thought of Lazarus coming to life. You have hopefully been given a bone picture. If you have not, we'll pass some more back. I'm going to ask you to do something with these as we go on the day. But one of the main things that I hope you capture from our lesson from John and then from the Ezekiel text is that there is no doubt about where this Lenten journey leads. That here we are a week before Passion Sunday and the start of Holy Week. And it's not just about budding trees or the scent of spring flowers, but death, as shrouded as Lazarus 4 days in the tomb, dead, stinking up the place. And dry bones are on Ezekiel's mind, brittle, rattling remains beyond the stages of rot and stench. Because the specter of death this week looms large. I want you to just pause for a moment and think about that and dry bones, perhaps like the one you might have before you. And I want you to dwell on that just for a moment, because I think John and Ezekiel offer important correctives that both foreshadow and prepare us for Holy Week, all the while giving us license to bold claims. You know, like the James Bond movie, License to Kill. Well, here it's license to proclaim. License to proclaim the good news. The result of the good news is putting back together or remembering and resurrecting the stinking dead, the real dead bodies, individual and corporal, because God is life. God is life. Not a God that just resuscitates old pals and brings them back to life, but God became like us in Jesus Christ, not to prolong our lives on this side of death, but to offer life and relationship on the other side of it. So today we have a number of important questions that I hope that we can address, whether it be together or whether it be in your hearts and minds. And the question is, can these dry bones live? Can things really be made new in the Lord? Do we believe it? Do we really trust it and believe it? These are the big picture, well, not just the big picture questions that come at us today, but I hope you'll hear in it also God's big picture responses. God says, overall, he said in the Ezekiel lesson straight out, and he says in the John text, in a story picture way, he says, I will put my spirit within you. You will live. Now, we don't catch it too clearly in English, but in the Ezekiel text, in the language of Hebrew, the word for spirit, for wind and spirit and breath are all the same, is the word ruach. I will put my spirit, my breath, my wind, my life into you. God is the spirit of life. The Spirit of God is life breath of all creation. God, the Spirit of God, the breath of God is the virtual spark that enlivens and sustains each creature. You and I and all of human life, all living creatures are a union of spirit and earth. And when the spirit is gone, only a lifeless corpse is left, which quickly decays and becomes dry bones that return to dust. But when God breathes spirit into his creation, life happens. And where there is spirit, there is life. Now sometimes when we are dispirited, there is death. And I think Grace, over the past several years, in some shape or form, has known about that, has felt that with the questions about what kind of future might we have. And I think as individuals, we feel that throughout our daily lives. Some weeks better than the others. Some days and moments better or worse than others. And death feels like it hangs all around. But I hope that with me you feel this spirit, this breath being breathed upon us, being breathed into us, and bones gathering skin again, ready to march, ready to live, ready to dance. And we have to be discerning in the face of death. We can't just go around breathing into anything that appears dead, because sometimes what appears dead needs to be left for dead. But much of what we have known of the church over the last century is clearly dying as we look at it. And perhaps many of us fear that we want to just rush right in and save it and perpetuate what was. But sometimes we need the courage to do what Jesus did with Lazarus and wait. Let it die. And then listen to see if God is actually calling us to prophesy to the bones and call on the Spirit of God to breathe new life into them. Because God is always about life and wants life to be to the fullest. So when God breathes new life into something, it's that which serves the cause of life, that which makes for peace and justice and hope. And God calls us not to waste our breath calling for life for that which is into something which might be familiar and comfortable, but might be better off as dead. And some people sometimes, too, are the walking dead. Ben Franklin one time said, many men die around the age of 25, but are not buried until after 75. Many people are living as though dead, as though death has already claimed them, and are just marking their time waiting until it finishes its job. But our Lenten journey reminds us that it is the baptismal spirit. It has not gone from us. It is not dried up. It is not dead. That we are made alive in the gift of baptism. And God begins the raising process of all that is dead within us. And we have a God who makes all things new. God is working that in each of us right now, in little and big ways. God is inviting us to make a difference in the world right now, right here. God is beckoning us to claim Christ's resurrection power now by participating in and completing the fantastic works that God is doing all over the place. So as we end this Lenten journey, as we near the end of it, I hope that you would ask yourselves these questions. How does God want us to really live? What needs resurrecting in us or among us? Another way to put that is, where have we failed to encourage those around us to dream God's dreams and live into God's plans? And what can we do to make that anew? Think about how the dry bones of our community can live. And I really invite you to consider putting something down on this piece of paper, whether it be for you individually or for us as a congregation, and where we want to see the power of resurrection come coursing again through our veins and the dry bones to live. How are we witnessing to the resurrection as a congregation? How would our neighbors be compelled to follow Christ if the resurrection and the resurrection and believe in it if we don't rise from the dead ourselves? So consider where the breath of God is most needed. Jot something down, and as we share communion together, we'll invite you guys to come up around here and place the bones in the basket. And we'll pray over them. Because unless life rises anew in us, which is exactly what Christ in us is and does, Christ in us by the Holy Spirit comes upon us and rebirths us in our baptism and directs our minds and our hearts in the here and now to be for God, to be for life and peace. Closing thought is that God still performs resurrection today among people everywhere whose identity is destroyed, whose culture has become obliterated by violence, and whose spirits are lost or crushed. God makes us new, calls us to come out of anything that binds us, the tombs that hold us, and calls dry bones to live. Because we have a God who wants us to have a strong mind, a strong heart, and a spirit that soars with so much strength that nothing in this world can weigh it down. Amen.